All right. What is going on, my friends? Mike Walker here, Client Services Director at The Wealthy Consultant. And this, of course, is TWC Talks podcast, The Wealthy Consultant podcast. Excited to have you here for another episode. This topic is one that is near and dear to my heart. This is one that I've lived out in multiple variations over the last couple of decades of my entrepreneurial experience. And I want to share it with you today. I want to share you some insights. I want to share you some ideas and strategies and tactics and mindset that is going to help propel you through this process much faster than you maybe otherwise would. All right. And today's topic is the 4 stages of evolution, making the shift from entrepreneur to CEO. And this is a big one. You know, everyone has these aspirations, not everyone, but a lot of people. And if you're listening here, probably you can share in my thought pattern here that, you know, a lot of people want to have the entrepreneurial lifestyle. They want to own their own destiny. They want to be the captains of their own ship. They want to call the shots. They want to, you know, they have a vision, they have a mission, they have a passion for bringing value, expertise to the marketplace. And that is, of course, what we spend a predominant amount of our time doing here at The Wealthy Consultant, especially within our various programs like the Consulting Launch Kit and Modern Day Consultant. You know, we have lots of different training programs, live events, curriculum, all designed to help people scale the mountain, if you will, of this curve that we're going to talk about, this ascension that you take through these 4 stages as you evolve from just business owner / solopreneur / entrepreneur, all the way up to where you're truly operating an enterprise level business as a CEO. And what I'd like to share with you today is the very first concept that if you are making a transition, say from a 9 to 5 into the world of being your own boss, being your own business owner, of an entrepreneur, that's a pretty big jump. You know, I see that a lot. I've seen it certainly countless times over the years, helping people develop their own business ideas and bringing them to the market. And, you know, someone's in 9 to 5, making the paycheck, this and that. And yet they have this inner burning desire, like there's more to life than this. And I want to like call the shots and bring something that I'm passionate about to the marketplace. And therefore they want to start their own business. And in my opinion, there's very few things that are as rewarding as that, because, you know, we're all put on this planet with a purpose. And sometimes that's working for other people and helping them build their own visions. And then other times it's, you know, kind of venturing out on your own and launching your own business. And in some areas you can even do both. You can just, you know, 9 to 5 it and then have a passion project on the side too. There's no right or wrong here. I want to be careful that, you know, a lot of times in the entrepreneurial space in particular, you'll kind of find this like, oh, if you're working for somebody else, you're just building their dream and you're a slave and this and that. And that's just simply not true. You actually can be an entrepreneur at heart while working for somebody else. You can be the entrepreneur of your own department, of your own division. You know, you truly can own your own, you know, future in a corporate environment or an environment where you are, you know, employed by somebody else. I absolutely believe that you can still share in the, what I call the entrepreneur DNA, you know, and typically those employees, by the way, I will say, just because I've had many over the years that are like that, they bring the best to the table because they take ownership, they take responsibility, they treat it as though it were theirs. And in doing so, they bring a lot of creativity to the table, a lot of outside the box thinking, and inevitably they end up producing the best results and being the best people to work with. So all that to say, that's kind of a separate topic, but I do like to, you know, highlight the point that being an entrepreneur doesn't always have to mean that you are, you know, owning and operating your own business. But in the context of today's topic, we're going to basically assume that that is the case, or that's the case that you are aspiring to foresee in your future. Then I want to kind of walk you through these 4 stages of evolution, because the jump from 9 to 5 to becoming your own boss or becoming an entrepreneur is a pretty big jump. But the jump between entrepreneur to full-blown CEO is much bigger. The gap between entrepreneur and CEO is far greater than the gap between having a job and then deciding to branch out and start your own business. That's a big jump, but not nearly as big of a jump as going from the entrepreneur space and the mindset required to an actual enterprise level CEO. Okay. So what we're going to do is talk about these 4 stages and then some of the key pain points and mindset elements that you're going to need to consider along these 4 stages. All right. So the first stage we're going to talk about, stage 1, is typically in the range where a business owner, an entrepreneur is making anywhere from 10K to 30K per month. That's, you know, that's going to be where you're going to find a lot of business owners, you know, especially solo operators. Maybe they have 1 or 2 team members, but that's typically where you're going to find them, where they're it's a full blown business. They're probably working, full time. And they're probably producing about 10 to 30K a month. Obviously, this is going to vary greatly depending on your vertical, your what industry you're in, what country you're in, all of these other elements, right? But we're just kind of going for a generalized concept here. At this stage number one, where you're making 10 to 30K per month, there is nothing greater than sales. Sales cures all at this stage. Okay, so that needs to be your number one focus. And yet typically at this stage, what you'll typically find is that the entrepreneurs are obsessed with the process. They're totally focused on the day to day, right? They're generally in the weeds a lot. They're kind of normalizing, but in reverse. They're kind of stuck at these baselines or these belief levels in their business. Well, that's just what our market can bear, or that's just, I don't think people are resonating with our ads, or there's always something else out there that is the reason why they're not growing. But honestly, it's typically just a mindset issue and also an understanding of what it truly takes to go through these 4 stages, which is why we're talking about them today. All right. So the number one thing you can focus on right now is just sales. At stage 1, you got to focus on sales. That is the lifeblood of a business. It is literally like the blood that is pumping through the veins of your business. And obviously you can have the best product in the world and whatever, but if you can't bring it to market profitably, then you're not going anywhere, right? So the sales, the revenue that you're bringing in is the lifeblood. It's the fuel to your engine. It's definitely a requirement. Now, I spoke about normalizing in reverse, kind of getting stuck in your baseline values and your baseline expectations. Belief level is a huge one here at this stage. Typically, our people are fairly new as business owners, or they've been stuck there so long that they just feel that, oh yeah, this 10K or this 30K level is like a glass ceiling. They can never break through it. And my suggestion here is that you need to fix it through osmosis, being around others who have already reached the level that you're looking for next. You need to get around those people. This is something we see all the time within the modern day consultant program. We have these monthly fly-ins that we do. And as clients come into the program, they'll be hitting this glass ceiling we've just been talking about. They get around others and they realize, wait a second, my belief level has gone way up. When you actually see people that are, just like you, just going through the same types of, challenges and they're overcoming them and they're breaking through these ceilings and getting to these next levels, instantly your confidence level increases and you realize, wait, I can do this. And you eventually just start to, absorb their level of confidence. And you just basically, it becomes an expectation. Instead of a anticipation, it becomes expectation. Very big difference. All right. So stage 1, 10 to 30K per month. That's just a general point that we see people kind of, getting stuck there. Now, stage 2, 100K per month. This is where the number one focus needs to be opportunity volume. Okay. And so you're making sales. That's great. But you really need to make sure that your volume is there to support growth. Meaning, if you're just tackling the same markets, if you're just kind of doing the same thing as you've been doing when you're at the 10 to 30K mark, you're really not going to break through past 100K. More of the same is not going to produce you better results. It's just going to kind of give you more of the same. You'll be kind of looping back in. At this stage, you're really going to have to focus on monitoring yourself for burnout and energy and vision, because at this stage, you're definitely going to need a couple extra team members to support, fulfillment. You're probably still wearing multiple hats. And that can be a very challenging environment where, again, you can very quickly slide right back into this whole mindset of, well, this is just how it is. This is what we've always done. I'm just working harder to get more. It's very linear thinking. It's like, well, if I work, 60 hours a week when I'm doing 30K a month, then I need to work, 100 plus hours a week in order to generate 100 or 120K a month. And that's very linear thinking. It's not necessarily going to get you to where you truly want to be. So at this level, you really need to start having a strong vision, because you're going to have to do a lot of things you don't like. You're still going to have to do a lot of the nitty gritty details, because you're not necessarily going to be able to afford a full blown team to do everything for you to where you can spend all your time in your zone of genius. You'll probably start to actually bring in and attract complications and just elements of operation that are going to require you to grow in areas that maybe you just didn't necessarily want to grow. It's not as fun for you, but the reality is that you're starting to get farther through these 4 stages, and you're inevitably going to be confronted with things about business operations and scale that are going to be foreign to you and probably pretty challenging. At this level, a lot of people start hiring a bunch of people to overcome that. They're like, wait a sec, we're making 100K. We're over $1 million a year. Rev, like, let's go start hiring, growing, scale, right? They start thinking big, trying to overcome the fact that they don't want to have to do these other things, or they just notice that they're starting to grow. But the reality is that at 100K a month, you're still a very small business by all standards across the global marketplace. 100K a month is small, very small. Okay. And so you really need to watch out for over hiring, spreading yourself too thin, and not having solid frameworks for knowing who to hire, when, et cetera, et cetera. Inside MDC, we have playbooks exactly for this. Playbooks being basically frameworks that you can use to know when to hire, who to hire, and where to place these people. There's some really important elements here that you need to consider, because a lot of people start spending money as though they're big time at this point, and they're actually not. It's still pretty small, and you can be very susceptible to, sliding backwards in terms of your results and your revenue. Now that's stage number 2, 100K per month. The number one focus is opportunity volume, making sure that you're expanding your marketplace, your total addressable market, what we call your TAM. We need to make sure that we broaden that out, and that you don't have concentration risk, especially in your marketing, advertising, messaging. Because again, what used to work at 10 to 30K isn't necessarily going to directly scale linearly across, to 100K, right? It's just not necessarily a 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. It's more like we got to go from 1 to 10, 10 to 20. We got to make bigger jumps. And that's going to require that you do different things, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you know what you get, right? The same result. Exactly. All right. So let's move on. We've conquered stage number 1, which is 10 to 30K per month. We've talked about stage number 2, which is around the 100K per month, where the focus is opportunity volume. Now we're going to move on to stage number 3, which is 250K per month zone. And that's really where you're going to need to focus on systems. This is a huge element, because everything starts to break here. You're at 250K per month, you're bringing enough clients, you're doing enough volume. It's really going to put the stress on your systems. And if you don't have proper protocols or what we call SOPs, standard operating procedures, if you don't have systems in place to handle this scale, things start to break really quick. And at this level, 250K per month is where all the inadequacies of both you, your team, and your operations as a whole really start to show. 250K per month starts to put a magnifying glass on everything. And this is where, all of a sudden you realize, wait a second, this used to work, but this definitely does not work anymore. I mean, you start to question, like, wait a second, what am I doing? Is this even going to work? Because you're starting to reach a threshold of what your business can actually sustain based on what you currently have. All right. So fatigue in the market, that's another big one. Fulfillment becomes a massive issue, and you as the entrepreneur become the bottleneck. This is where you start to realize, wait a second, this is getting bigger than me. This is bigger than maybe I even knew it would get. And now I'm starting to realize, wait a second, I don't necessarily know or have the resources or skill sets in place to handle everything that's coming at you. And this is a big place, because this is where you start to realize that you are now exiting the realm of entrepreneurialism, and you're starting to go more, full on legit business, enterprise level, and you're going to need to figure it out. And this is a really big one. You're going to need to borrow confidence, and that's going to come from mentorship. It's going to come from people that have already been there and done that. You will not traverse this zone on your own. You're going to need people that have been there and done that. They've figured out how to break through these certain challenges, and the bottleneck in particular as an entrepreneur. You will simply not outwork this scenario. There are not enough hours in the day. There's not enough energy in the soul to be able to, support scale beyond this zone without the help of better systems, more people, and better people. And so the focus here really needs to be on systems and just operationalizing everything you possibly can. It's a really key component. And then, as you then traverse into the stage 4, 500K per month, this is where the focus is on team and culture. Now you're really starting to pull yourself out of the day to day. You're not stuck in the weeds anymore. You've now, you've raised yourself above that, and you are operating the business as a true CEO, which means you have decision makers under your advisement who are bringing ideas, solutions, and growth concepts to you. They are actually helping develop the business, and you are essentially, managing, guiding the vision, that you're steering the ship, but you are absolutely dependent on the quality of expertise that you have attracted into your business. And this is where team and culture is such a huge element. You cannot just hire people with a bigger paycheck. The A players that you're looking for at this stage of your business are not just there for the money. They're going to be there for the vision, for the culture, for the mission statement that you have. These are all very key elements of your business that you're going to need to have in place to attract the quality of people, what we call A players, into your business at this stage, and to retain them long term, right? Sure, everybody wants to get paid well. That's great. But the reality is, and I can promise you this because I see it all the time, we've seen it directly here within the Wealthy Consultant Company, is that in order to attract the quality of people that we want, there has to be an environment and vision and mission in place that's going to make them want to stick. Because again, we're looking for those entrepreneurial minded CEOs, experts, the C-suite team that we're looking to create. They have to have a sense of ownership. They have to have a sense of, this is part of why I'm here. I want to invest my time, effort, and energy into building this mission as a collective team. And that can only happen if you have a very strong, clear focus and culture for everybody to kind of sync up to and live with and live by. So that's basically it, guys. Let's recap really quickly here. So stage 1, 10 to 30K per month, focus on sales. Sales cures all at that point. Like, yes, you could do it better. You could optimize. You could do all kinds of different things. Probably you could break off and create new products and all these things. That's great. But the number one focus is get your core offer, your core business cranking in sales. You just need to get that consistency. So you have the revenue flowing through, the cash flow flowing through your business so that you can sustain long enough to grow into the next stage, which is around the 100K per month range. Again, just a general level there, but 100K per month is really where you're going to have to start focusing on, decentralizing your exposure, your attention methodologies in the business, and in the marketplace to make sure that you're not solely dependent on one form of lead generation, for example, or one revenue stream for your business. You got to remove that concentration risk. And that's where you start to diversify across different product lines, or where you start to diversify across different advertising channels and strategies. There's a lot in place here that you want to make sure that you're durable for the long term in order to support the growth that's going to come at stage 3, which is around the 250K per month mark. And this is really where focus on systems is so critical, from onboarding, client and hiring. It goes on and on. Internal operations, HR, fulfillment, you name it. All these things need to have very clearly articulated SOPs in place so that everything is running like a well-oiled machine, because everything needs to be fully dialed in order to support stage number 4, which of course is around that, $500,000 per month mark. And that's where you now have a team fully operationalized and invested into the systems that have been created. And now you have a culture and a clear, vision that everybody's operating under. And at that point, you now have something that's truly enterprise scale ready, and you can really start to evolve as an entity. And at that point, you have certainly made the evolution from entrepreneur to CEO. All right. Excellent, guys. This was a quick one today, but hopefully this helps, with where you're at in your journey, regardless of where you are in these 4 stages of evolution. It's not to say that one's necessarily better than the other. They all bring very real challenges. And the beauty is that those challenges only make you stronger, wiser, and wealthier. And that is exactly what we're all about here at TWC Talks podcast and the Wealthy Consultant Company. All right. Excellent, guys. Thanks for joining me today. Look forward to having you on another episode, and we'll see you then. Take care.